boosted. You guys should be able to hear it. That should be better. You guys should be able to see more there. Hmm. Let's see. See it, but it's super, super low. Let me see if I can boost it in here. It's getting better, right? Yeah, it's getting there. No. Razer updated today and it like asked me to reset it. I was like, oh God, what are you doing? Let's see. Too many things that can play sound attached right now. Let's see. Volume range. Let's raise this to 20. Apply. Let's see if that lets me put it higher. All right, I can see the bar now. You should be able to hear it now. The red bar is like high, so it better be there. Let's see. Okay, I can hear myself on the test one. Let me know if you guys can hear it. Debbie, is that a yes? All right, clear. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Everybody's up. Ernest, all these people already put their tickets in before you, so I think you were good to go. They were like, man, it's up. Let's get tickets now. I think because a certain somebody last week ended up buying the first one and the last one, then they won. That once they saw that it was up, it was kind of like, man, let's just do this. Let's just do this. I'm getting like a million messages now. Yeah, so I sent out so you guys know obviously with Cross, we've gotten a bunch of different custom gear this year, and we had a quote for gloves, but with everybody having the flu, I couldn't get the rest of the information from people. So we go to put the glove order, and they're like, for us to get that in time, they're like, they just told us because of the coronavirus, we have to push it back because the Chinese plants are shut down. I was like, okay. I was like, but I can go online and order it now. I was like, well, let me check. And he's like, okay, we can rush it, but we have to pay a little bit extra for it. It was like $30 over like the quote we were originally given. So I was like, I don't know about that. So if we order them by ourselves, there's one color that we can't get on the gloves, which is not the end of the world, but it says they'll be shipped by the end of February. So I was like, yeah, my parents voted no. We're just all going straight in, just gonna order them ourselves and get them, 3 weeks earlier without the rush charge on there. Like, sorry, bud. I mean, it's a friend of mine too, so I kind of felt a little bit bad. But now all the parents are like, "Am I doing it right?" I'm like, guys, I sent a picture. I sent all the directions, and one parent actually wrote back and says, "Thank you for the very simple directions to follow." she's like, I didn't want to be that parent that messed it up. So I feel good that I had one parent that knew that I was trying to lay it out on purpose. But yeah, it's pretty funny. But my friend's like, "Wait a second, they told you that you could have it." I'm like, "Yeah, when you hit the finish button and it says ship by the end of February, so that'll get it to us in plenty of time." He's like, So I think he's a little bit pissed now too. But I'm like, hey, sorry, man, I can't justify $30. Parents are not happy with that kind of stuff. Season ends right. Okay. Yeah, so like 20 people at once all messaged me about these gloves, and I was like, oh God, can't answer them now. All right, guys. So Monday the 10th, almost rounding the turn here. Actually, I don't even have it up, but for those that you guys did not see it, let me sign in. I did change the website, or the Thinkific site, not the main website, just the Thinkific website. So if you guys were trying to get to it, I will post it actually I'll post it right here. There's the new one, and that's where the report is. If you guys were looking for the report this week, report did well. It didn't do 100 pips this week, but it did pretty well. Again, it's another positive week. It did take one little loss in there. It was one of those ones that it was positive for a bit. Got it. Let's go. Already got it. Yep. Oh God. No. Stop. Let's preview it just so you guys can see it. Is it Sunday night gaps? Go widescreen. You guys can see it right up here. So this is the final results. Euro pound was actually up for a bit. Again, Euro Aussie, it was up and ended up going 1.5, almost 2 times, and we moved the stop loss to break even. So again, obviously we're not taking a loss on that one. Aussie CAD was up there. It was actually positive a little bit, but I never moved anything on it, so we took a little bit of a loss on that one. And a couple other things closed a bit early that were they hit the trailing stop. Nothing I can do about that one. But for the most part, everything else did well. I should have put oil up here. Don't know if you guys knew this or not. What oil did. Again, I had not tested oil, so I did not put oil up there. But here was the gap off of oil. I don't know if you guys can see it right here. Right there. There was the gap off of oil. What did it do? It came all the way up. It ended up touching again, coming back up, and then continued to collapse all the way back down again. So it actually worked in oil as well, but did not put oil up there. That is one of the ones that we have supply and demand on. But we did not actually have that. So if you guys are not getting this, remember, this is $10 a month total. It's got a lot of stuff included in there. And remember, for the first run through, I did not have subscriptions set up. So after your 30 days, you will have to repurchase it for $10 if you guys go in there. And like I said, last month for January, it was up 370 pips, I think. So again, just, kind of a little helpful resource for you guys. I want you guys to be able to use what we're using offline as well. And then same thing if you guys, the part of this that takes the most time is the supply and demand levels. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but it's all these supply and demand levels, tops and bottoms for, basically 31 something pairs. As well as this week, we have oil, gold, NQ, YMN, ES all in there for futures contracts. So those were all added this week as additional resources for people that are looking for help with their levels. All right. But just so you guys know, I did move the website. I did change the name because it was listed as Brian's-School-Thinkific, or it's just the general one. It will become eventually the Keep Trading Simple, the full page. But right now, it's just the that one I just posted, the keeptradingsimple.thinkific.com. Eventually, everything will be over there, as well as new versions of the indicator. If any of you guys purchased the supply and demand indicator, you guys saw again in Discord today, Sean was talking about how well it worked for him again. I'm going to be putting up, it'll basically be listed as a course, but it'll be the course indicators and how to use and apply those indicators. So it'll have all of them in there. And again, they'll be basically, most likely there'll be certain ways about, have to have a prerequisite to be able to purchase it and those kinds of things. So, but that's where your new copies of that will be as versions come through. I am actually testing the one with alerts right now. So you guys will notice on my screen, I have an A, E, N to start off. You guys may only have the A and the N as far as the alert goes. But again, I have the email alert system in there and my version as well. I know I sent Ernest and I may have sent Carl the old one as well. Every chart you ended up having to click the activation key. Well, now it's set to where if you hit the activation key once, it automatically turns all of them on. Okay, so it's kind of like a one-touch function, which I asked Matt to do, and he was able to do for us. So just to make it a bit easier, because remember, it only sends alerts based off the charts that you currently have going. So it means you need to build a profile for basically an alert, right? One for alerts. And again, if you guys don't know how to do that, I can definitely get with you on it. All right, so look at it today. Really not a lot of news, and I mentioned that this is in the weekly wrap-up inside. Again, the weekly breakdown, I start off with kind of a what's going on for the week. I mentioned this in there. This is like a week of speeches. All the major countries have some type of a speech this week. Today, all we really had was speak, right? FOMC Bowman, which is not even considered one of the biggies. And again, look at the markets. They basically reacted to it, pound dollar, $15, 1 pip, 6 pips, 11 pips, -3, -41. Again, we saw pound strength. Actually, I guess it was more euro weakness because we saw it here as well. And then pound yen, 17. So again, we saw European weakness and the lowering of those two versus both the US dollar as well as the pound. Brown spoke, nothing really big there. Looking at the latest news stories, and here again, we don't really see too much. Risk blown up pair. Really nothing crazy in there as well. And then even down here, a little bit about, what are they saying about the coronavirus and the spread? Like I said, I think this will slowly start dying down. I don't know. It'll pop up in a couple other places and it'll be bad, but probably not too bad at this point. I think at this point they're, people that are infected. I mean, put it this way. If you get the coronavirus from now, it's because you put yourself in harm's way. Everybody knows it exists. It's not like you can say, oh, I didn't know, right? I didn't know. So it's not like one of those situations. Looking at it tomorrow, we do actually have some news early. Now we have preliminary GDP numbers for the pound, and again, that's going to be very important. It's shown as prior what we saw, right? But again, the forecast is coming in at 0, so basically the market is really not pricing too much in. But again, if this number comes in negative, that kind of goes against whatever all the forecasts are saying, so the market will adjust accordingly. And then after GDP numbers, and again, if you're awake, GDP is typically a pretty good one to trade. Particularly today, if you're seeing something like this where the euro pound is dropping 40. If this is bad, this can definitely shoot up 40, right? Pretty quickly, right? Um, After that, again, we have ECB president speaking at 9 a.m. At 10 a.m., we have, Powell is starting to talk. Right after that, we have the BOE speaking. So again, it's like bam, 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 all these people speaking. And again, Haskell speaking over here, and then Kashkari speaking over here. So I mean, it's literally a day of a lot of people talking. We'll see what the news makes out of it. Now, it's funny because this guy doesn't matter. This guy doesn't really matter. Obviously, when Powell testifies, that kind of matters, right? Kind of matters, but more matters what he says and then, Trump tweets. That's kind of what more matters is what the tweet says versus what he's going to say. So we'll see. But we'll see. About to see. 8 p.m. tomorrow, though, we have the official rate. It's not expected to be any cut for the New Zealand, but the monetary policy statement and the rate cut and the press conference all are going to be important. Data out of New Zealand has not been horrible. Obviously, they are going to be affected some because Australia is affected from the coronavirus as well and all the commodity-based currencies. But again, the numbers haven't been horrible. We saw the Australian employment rate change, and things from their economy actually weren't looking horrible. So we'll see if that's carrying over to New Zealand before any of the coronavirus data and slowing comes in. A lot of that is speculation right now. But if the data looks good, again, that could give this a nice little bounce as well. And again, we may hear something here about when is this potentially going to move. And again, it could be good or bad. They say we could be dropping to 0.75 to stimulate our economy even more with the slowing economy, or with the slowing global economy, or they could say that things are looking great here. Inflation is starting to creep up. We want to make sure we get a cap on it before inflation gets out of control. And we may potentially be raising this to 0.125 at some point in 2020. That's the other side of the coin, in which case that would drive some strength back in the New Zealand dollar. So that's what we're looking like going into tomorrow, the 11th. For those of you that are listening to today's broadcast, make sure you know we only have a couple days until Valentine's Day. Don't be that person that doesn't get the Valentine's Day gift, especially if it's coming from China. I actually got a shipping notification earlier today that says my order has been delayed due to the coronavirus. And I was like, no! I ordered it on time this year because I'm one of those people. I refuse to buy $110, dozen roses. When in 2 months from now, you can get the same dozen for like $30. I refuse to pay that demand cost. But I'm very lucky. My wife is not necessarily into flowers because they're already dying. So it's not like she gets angry if she doesn't get, 12 roses for, $10 a piece when the rest of the year you can get them for, much cheaper for the same exact roses. Still smell the same. They still have hidden thorns on them. Same stuff. But yeah, my rant's over. It's not supply and demand. It's kind of like, supply and demand is the wrong word because there are plenty of roses that go to waste on Valentine's Day. So it's not like roses are, in short supply or anything like that, right? I mean, they're built in greenhouses all year for it. It's not like it was a surprise, right? They know. It's basically a hush-hush. Roses for $110 are hush-hush money. That's all it is. It's more extortion because when you're a guy and you forget, you know that you can go out last minute and you don't care what it costs because it's better than the alternative, right? Right? I mean, the doghouse is less expensive than you find in a hotel room that night, right? So for $110, you're like, yeah, I'll pay that. Any more than that, it's just cheaper for you to get a hotel room. And then it's like, mini bar, all that other kinds of stuff. Yeah. No, actually, yeah. No, no, no. It's actually a really good idea, but I can't say because she's in the other room. She can probably hear me speaking. Yeah. No, 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 no. No, it's like a game or whatever, but I guess they're produced there or something, but the factory's closed. Like, I get it. Like, our lacrosse equipment is actually, we have stuff that's delayed as well because one of the main manufacturing plants is over there and they've shut it down. So, nothing I can do about that, but at least everybody's cool about it. All right. You could have a comfy couch, right? Maybe, maybe. Man, dog isn't all that bad. It could be worse, Ernest, right? Could be worse. All right, let's go over into the scanner. So one thing that I'm really liking about the scanner is we see a lot of squares, right? A lot of squares on this bad boy. Last week, towards the end of the week, we saw like not a whole lot. It was kind of like, whoa, what happened? Particularly like in the European basket, it was like there's nothing, right? Nope, no setups. Everything's consolidating. Just pass go. Do not collect $200. Go directly to jail. It's kind of what we're looking like last week. This week, at least, we got something. So looking in the major basket, dollar Swiss. Again, with Iran gone, we don't have to worry about missiles, armies, all that kinds of stuff. This one starts to dissipate, and again, that's kind of a planned movement, right? Again, sideways up confirmed, sideways up confirmed, sideways up confirmed. Again, it's going back. It's looking for supply zones. Okay, when it does hit something, we will get an uptrend setup situation. We got to make sure that it does not bounce off of a zone, and that's where we're at. Yen, a little bit of consolidation today, and again, we see that one that technically moved 0 pips in 24 hours. So yeah, not necessarily a surprise that is consolidating. Again, it is still moving up in the other two pairs. Dollar CAD is giving us that uptrend setup. We can see on the lower two time frames, it is pulling back. And again, right now it's giving us setups in all three kind of slots right now. And again, we will check dollar CAD definitely tonight. Aussie dollar, kind of the same thing, but the reverse. Okay, the downtrend setup, a little bit of a pullback. And the reason why, in my eyes, the reason why this is pulling back is because if you scroll down, we only hear one thing about, I don't even see it right now. Where did it go? Yeah, here. See, as the corona fears away. See, like I said, because some new country hasn't gotten out, I'm telling you, what's going to happen next is if it makes its way to like some third world country and they find that, oh my God, it's been decimating. They don't have internet. That's why we didn't hear about it. Then it'll be bad again. But besides that, I think at this point, we're just going to hear, we'll hear good news. And, again, this will kind of wane as well. And that'll bring things back again. And again, that's why the Australian dollar is coming back up. Pound dollar. Again, this is going to be, you guys see Boris Johnson up here, the Boris bounce. British retailers yet to benefit from the Boris bounce. And you'll see more about that. Like I said, I think the biggest thing for the pound is going to be these trade deals when these trade deals come through. And again, that'll be big news. It's not like they didn't have trade before, but if they can get some new trade deals, they can start carving out niches in the economy for themselves. And again, the economy can start growing again. And again, we have certainty. People can start putting money back into companies can start spending on infrastructure when they have a little bit more certainty about how things are going to look going forward, what the profit margins, what the costs are going to be. All that makes a big deal, right? Again, they have what's there is there, and they got to create new deals. And then New Zealand again tomorrow night. So look at the Aussie basket. I'm sorry, the European basket. This one was totally messed up last week. I mean, it was just basically all consolidation, sideways movement, nothing. Okay, at least today we got a lot of squares on that board, right? New Zealand, Euro, New Zealand, sideways up confirmed. CAD, we got one. Swiss, yen, pound, and Aussie. You're seeing uptrend setups for all these pairs. The Aussie has actually already kind of left the building. It's already moved. But again, as soon as it hits that area of demand, then this will also go into a downtrend setup situation. And again, you're seeing it across. So Euro is something we definitely need to spend some time on tonight and see where we are at and where the potential moves can be. Into the CAD basket. So the CAD basket's got a couple different things, always in the secondary pair. You're seeing some consolidation versus the pound, the New Zealand, and the yen, as well as the Aussie. Okay, and again, it's the commodity currency, so not really surprised there. CAD Swiss, again, that one is showing us that we're about to be in a setup, but Euro CAD and Dollar CAD, again, we talked about them back here. They are both in uptrend setups with the accompanying patterns over here. And again, same situation. I'm not surprised that these two are dead on. A lot of the pairs are kind of in the same situation, okay? Looking at the Aussie basket. Now, the Aussie basket this week, or today at least, this is giving us that same type of consolidation, right? Sideways up, sideways up, sideways up. At least we have a confirmation here in the Aussie New Zealand. And then Aussie dollar, downtrend setup. The lower time frames are pulling back up. So let's see if there's an area for us to get short, or is this the pair that just bounced off the demand zone? Okay, that's what the Aussie was doing last week. Pound basket, consolidation, consolidation, consolidation. Anchor break to the top side, downtrend setup, and again, consolidation. So kind of a mixed little group in here. And again, this pound New Zealand may actually be a pair to look at tomorrow night, especially if we see some weakness in this pair. Like I said, we have any type of positive kind of news coming out of that monetary policy statement for New Zealand tomorrow night. That could definitely drive this pair down if these pairs are all starting to go a bit negative, right? Especially because we see pound Aussie is already negative. Pound CAD, two of the commodity currencies, are already negative. And this was down, but now it's an anchor break to the top side. So again, is this one going higher so they can sell it at a higher price? Maybe. maybe, and that may be what we're starting to see already before the news tomorrow. So that's that's where we stand right now as far as what we can set up for. Let's jump over to charts. Let me click this over here. Let's bring this back up to Aussie. All right. So first things first, we have the Aussie dollar. Let's make this one big and let's get it its new data. There we go. All right. So you may see some of these lines on here. I'm just doing these real quick this weekend. All right. So on a daily basis, we can see we're pretty low on the curve on this one. Again, when we're sitting there low on the curve, we got to be a little bit more bearish. I'm sorry, a little bit more bullish biased. Dropping down to a 4-hour, again, you can see that this thing has really come low. I mean, looking back, it's been a while, right? The only thing we have sitting over here is kind of this range in here, right? It's where current price is. So there's something small below where we are, but may not be the best little area. But that's kind of what we bounced out of, right? And it actually was a demand zone. Looking at the 1 hour, okay? The 1 hour is giving us a little bit clearer of a picture, right? In this case, we can see we kind of have a top and a bottom, and our top has actually been hit at this point, okay? So we drove pretty deep into it. It pulled back again, and then it made another push forward. So question is, we are in a what's considered a downtrend setup on the daily, and then we have upside, basically up confirmed the 4 hour and the 1 hour. Now, where can we find a good little zone is the big question. Okay, you guys can see it over here, right? We're sitting in this uptrend setup, and you can see it on this one right here. What do we have sitting right here? We have the drop, the sideways basing, and the drop. Okay, now technically we should be able to find it here, but we'll go to the 1 hour because it's a little bit more clear, and this will give us the kind of the better idea. All right, again, zone here, but like I said, it pushed pretty deeply on its first attempt into that one. You always got to be a bit cautious. This is giving us another zone. Now, the indicator is not pulling this one. The indicator is telling us to go higher for this zone up top, around 67.85. And again, this one has already been confirmed with this test here. This one has it. It spent a bunch of time here, but it's definitely a nice drop away. I mean, we have 3 candles, 4 hours actually, straight down, a little bit of a pullback and a continued push. It's a total move of about 60 pips, which is over the daily ATR. So not a bad little kind of, push away from that one. If you're going to draw that one, I'd probably draw it probably there. Actually, I'll just use the fib indicator for this one. I'd draw it probably there is what I'd be looking for. And again, right now, if this just continues to drive forward, your 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio is actually in a pretty good spot. Not bad where it is. Dropping lower to your 1 to 5, that one's not horrible. I'd like if it was just a little bit higher, but because of this green wick tested all the way down, not actually a really bad spot, right? Because again, it drove past that zone. So it's actually, the base is showing that we don't have buyers till lower. So not actually a bad little, I can zoom in unless you guys see a little bit better. Not actually a little bit, not really a bad spot, right? Oop, not that one. That's what was I looking for. And again, we'll base it off of that. Okay, so not a bad little spot there. And again, keep that one marked off. The entry in that one is 67.17. All right, and again, that would still be in that downtrend setup for the Aussie dollar. Looking over at Aussie New Zealand. Now, Aussie New Zealand is basically confirmed to the top side. Okay, so let's go to the higher time frames and get those rolling. As you can see, let's not go to the weekly, let's go to the daily. Okay, this one did come out of that demand zone to the downside. It hit once, hit twice. Again, got this green, red, green confirmation up, and has continued to drive further. And again, not really a whole lot in here. I wonder if that's not an indicator box. That was a different box on a different time frame. So again, pushing higher, right? Big question is there anything great in here? And the answer is not really on the daily. I mean, a lot of wicks back and forth. We'll see if on the 4 hour you can see anything better. Now, 4 hour, you can see we're running into a zone. Not a horrible zone. I mean, this thing spiked up. You guys can see this spiked up, came down, based, popped, and then again, rode along the bottom of this channel. So actually not a horrible channel, as well as the gap is sitting right above it. So, this is definitely a potential area for us to be looking for shorts off of. Right now, it's about 18 pips. It's a little bit big for this pair for me. Let's see on an hourly if we have anything. Doesn't look like the hourly is picking it up. It looks like it's a bit, nothing great in that one. See here, it's not as clean, unfortunately. This is from an old trade. think I would use this. I think I would use those lines because again, we got this nice little test here. So I'd set it up something along those lines if you guys are looking to get short this one. Okay. And again, your 1 to 3 is in a great place. Your 1 to 5 is actually not a horrible place as well. As a secondary target, it breaks through this basing level. Okay. And again, this one is kind of going in line with some of the other Aussie pairs. Again, it's pulled back up again, but we'll see what type of news comes out. It is going to run into a supply zone, so we are looking for some type of a pullback, and that's not too bad of a pullback. Now we've actually lowered the risk down to about 10 pips. So before it was 18, now we lowered it to 10. It just needs to go a little bit deeper. And again, when we saw in the 4-hour, there was actually a gap above, and that's just about where this one is as well, if you're looking to get any type of a short position in this pair. Looking across at Aussie dollar or at Aussie yen. So Aussie yen. Hold on, let me see where I have these from. Yeah, this is one of the ones right here. Okay, we had the gap retest spike all the way down, so that one was good. Let's start on the daily. So in the daily sequence right now, you can see that we're in a downtrend setup. It is pulling back, right? Looking for, and it's funny. Here was the pullback, there was the grab, and there was the pushback down again on the daily and weekly. Although we're just doing this one for the indicator. Looking at it here, it is showing a zone, not a horrible zone. Again, we have the wicks going lower, 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 and before it finally just explodes through the bottom. As you can see, this line up here is on the 4-hour, kind of what we talked about before, that prior gap. No demand in the way. Let's see on the hourly what we have sitting here. You guys can see there is the gap up top, and again, we got front run on that gap. So there is a wick over wick that it is, I mean, again, we've gotten close here, front run, gotten close here, front run, gotten close just a little bit higher, and it looks like it pushed back down again. It's not a very huge, let's see, it's like a 3-pip wick over wick, but it's like rock solid right now. But my one problem with this one is if we take, basically clean levels of highs and lows at this point, we have supply up top, we have demand here. We're kind of sitting right in the middle, right? This is kind of no man's land in that middle 30%. So I just be a bit cautious about that, what we have going on. I think I'd still rather wait. Again, it's only Monday. We have plenty of days to go. I'd much rather get some clean entries tonight. Get 1 or 2 nice little ones instead of playing with something in the middle. For me, I still think we're looking to take this one short up top and then go long at the bottom on the 1-hour. Messing around in the middle with no news and just people talking. I just don't see, if you wanted to, it is about 50 pips top to bottom. So again, there is somewhat of a sideways channel. Looking on the 30-minute, you can still see that same wick over wick, but not, like I said, sitting in the middle, not super big. And on this time frame, it's same thing. It's about 3 pips. So very, very tiny. Very, very tiny. I still like the top and the bottom of this one on the 1-hour the most. Okay, I think those are the 2 cleanest set for get entries. Looking across at Aussie CAD, let's bring this one up to the daily. And I'll load this one back up again. All right, so last week this one pushed down and kind of pushed up again. Again, obviously on the daily we are very, very low on the curve. On the 4-hour, you can see again we've driven back up again, and you guys can see this drop, this sideways green area, and then this big spike down again. Let's see over here. Now this is one of the ones that failed. You guys can see the Aussie CAD came up, it came over, it touched, kind of went down, and then continued to push higher. So this one just pushed right through the zone, and this one basically blew up. Where we are now, though, again, you guys can see on the hourly, there's a level right here. And again, problem is, again, it's inside of this middle pattern, but again, not a horrible little spot here. It's only about 6 pips. Problem is there's a zone here, and then you have this top zone that has actually been touched. So we know there's sellers up here. We know there's buyers down here. The question is, do we want to get something here in the middle? And Aussie CAD right now is in a consolidation pattern on the daily, and on the 2 lower time frames, the 4-hour and the 1-hour, it's sideways up confirmed. So any type of a pullback, it's looking for us to go long. Now, I don't really see any pullback targets in here that I really love. And again, you guys can see there's basing level here too. So I think we're in the same situation on this one on a Monday. I mean, we're 50 pips away from this top side, and the daily is 50 pips. So again, this could be a trade setup more for tomorrow than anything else. Unless you want to get real aggressive with this one. But being the Aussie CAD, I don't think anybody is going to want to be super aggressive with this one. Okay. I think that's going to be more of it tomorrow night. Aussie Swiss. Okay, you guys can see. Bring this back up to the daily. This one, again, you guys can see it's a while ago. All right, so this one has bounced off a few different zones at this point. Again, we'd marked this one off last week. This one dropped, and right now, not too much on this one. We're a little bit far from some of the zones. I think I'll wait till that gets up in that zone. Like I said, wouldn't be taking this one. The zone's actually a little bit higher. Um, hmm. Aussie, this Aussie Swiss is also in consolidation on the daily, so it's not really showing us a lot of trend. And with sideways up confirmed that is waiting for pullbacks to go long. I think instead of, like I said, instead of trying to snipe a top on this one here, I think I'd much rather snipe this up a little higher. This zone is not bad. This is a pretty forceful drop down, and again, I would probably put my zone here on the 4 hour, probably a little bit higher than that. See how much this is, about 10. Yeah, this one's not bad. I like the formation in this one. Probably, yeah, I'd probably set this one up something along the lines of that. Okay. Again, we got to see what type of levels form below that, but for right off the bat, if you guys are going to be setting alert for some pairs, I'd set an alert probably down in this area. See how it's approaching. If again, if it's straight up green like this, that's actually not a horrible place for us to turn and head to the downside. And again, that rally up would coincide with supply zones on multiple different pairs. Aussie Singapore, if you guys are trading this one, again, we have a confirmed top up there. You guys will see it came all the way up, grabbed this drop, sideways drop pattern. Again, shot straight up. And we mentioned this last week. As soon as we started to hear less about the coronavirus, that this one would start to turn as well. And again, you can see that it's confirmed just because it's, again, we're pulling green in an uptrend. We've had its pullback. The question is, if we turn red now, are we going to retrace all the way back down? And again, you're seeing that here. Okay, we came back up, we hit a zone, and you can see it's this basing level here is kind of what it grabbed. Okay, you guys can see if you come across, this is what it grabbed, this little one. Again, this is kind of back and forth. This is kind of sloppy in here, but that's what it grabbed. For this one, you had your red, your green, and your red confirmation, and since that time, it dropped about 70 pips. So again, been quite the mover to the downside. On the lower time frames, you can see that this one has been kind of bouncing back and forth, right? We had an area here. This is where the gap actually occurred. It went from here all the way down, solid up, no wick candle, and continued to push away. Ran actually into a wick over here. Came back down, touched that same zone, and then went back up again. Right now, this channeling is about 30 wide, although the risk on it was a little bit funky, right? The risk was about 14. So it was only a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio, so not really necessarily the best setup, although it was channeling sideways. I'd like to see if we can get some type of a break, and I want to see more of a push. I'd like to actually hear some positive data, not just hear no data. And I think some positive data would actually be what, the catalyst is that for this one to turn to the downside. You guys can see here's that gap candle right here. Just straight up, really no movement, and that's what it bounced off of. So even on the 30-minute, you really couldn't have refined this one too much, okay? But again, we are approaching a zone here. So that's all the Australian pairs. Let's go into the Canadian pairs. All right, so I guess we'll start with this one. All right, so there's all stuff I'll draw on this one. I was pulling levels off this one pretty quickly, so leave some stuff in here. May have been a pair that I was using. All kinds of things in this one. Don't look at those. Don't look at those. Pay no attention to those. All right, so on the daily, you can see we came back up again and went into this level of basing right before a gap. On the 4 hour, you can get a little bit clearer of a picture. Again, we came all the way down. We talked about this last week. We were in areas of demand. It actually missed. I really like the target just below this, so did not get an entry on this one to the top side. Has pushed forward, and again, really not tons clean. This is really this one up here was really the best kind of entry for us to get into it. And again, that coincided with the gap right here. You can see that if I bring it across, it cuts through the top of this zone. So again, this was a 4 hour kind of gap fill and then continuation pattern to the downside. On the daily, again, today obviously is probably not the best, best example, right? Because again, it is Monday with no news, no nothing, no catalyst, and really not a lot of, we didn't even get a lot of news today, right? Basically just sideways channeling back and forth. Right, we had this top side up here, price spiked up, came all the way back down again, and just at that point, it got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And now again, we're stuck inside of a channel as well, and this channel is only about 25 pips. So again, consolidation pattern sideways, really not a whole lot we can do on this one. And again, scanner sideways up consolidation, and then the two lower time frames are sideways up confirm, which kind of makes sense down here. All right, approaching levels of supply. So if anything, I would say I'd like to go a bit further, and then I'd be looking to get a bit bearish on it if we can get up here, but it's got about 17 pips before we can get up there. And again, I'm not just immediately selling here. I'm actually looking more towards some type of a gap fill off here. I'm actually looking at getting up into the 8309 range. I think if we can get up into the 8309 range, which is, about 60 pips from where we are right now, I think that's where I'm more looking for shorts. Okay, something along there. You guys can see it up top. Break through this, kind of chug through this, and then get back to that up to that gap, and I'll be looking to take some shorts off that gap area. Okay, so that is CAD yen. Looking at CAD Swiss. All right, so CAD Swiss did have an interesting gap in there. This one was one of the ones that filled and went basically 2/3 of the way before it ended up before it turned on us. You guys can see over here on the 4-hour, we mentioned before this one coming back up, and it's just really been kind of back and forth consolidate at the end of the week. On the hourly, you can see that this is what we had, right? Again, what did it do? It came all the way back down again, and again, this one ended up needing to go higher before dropping back down to hit that full target. It got close. It got close, right? And this is what we had, right? We ended up hitting. Basically, here, I'll make this big so you guys can see it. This is one of the pairs that ended up having to come out early, right? We hit, we pulled all the way back down. We were basically 2.5 to 1, and yep, started the turn on and flatline us, so we just took it off early. And the end result is it came up, it went back, and ended up going all the way down to the 3 to 1 anyway. But it has formed a nice level up top, and again, that's why I zoomed in on this one. This is a pretty nice kind of move to the downside, and again, not a pair you typically look at, but this one was only about, this is the small one. Hold on, let me grab the bigger one. Where is it? Yeah, so from this top one, we're only about 40 pips. So that's 1 day's worth of movement. And we've been talking about filling this green area for a while when we broke through. And it finally did. I mean, it banged, 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 bang, and finally went higher again and is now put in still a lower, again, some people want to draw trend lines off this. But when we get up, I'm looking for this top area. So I'll delete this. This is the Sunday gap. And throw that risk to reward ratio in there. And again, right now we got to see how it approaches, but this is definitely a setup that I'm looking for, and I actually like this one a lot. Not a ton of risk, right? The risk level in this one is only 9.8 pips, so basically 10 pips. If you want to add a buffer, add 11 in there. Nice small risk level, and again, our risk to reward on that one would be 30 pips or 50 pips to the downside, which is basically 1 day worth of movement. So it would be nice too because it'll chug through a lot of this stuff and give us a nice little kind of up pop and back to the downside. All right. So those are the Canadian pairs. Let's go to the Swiss pair. All right, we'll start up top and come down. So as you guys can see on the daily, again, we are still on the top side. I was hoping we continue to push forward. I'd like to take another short off this 114.37 range or area, but we are not obviously able to get up there right now. So yeah, I was hoping it did, but we didn't quite get up there. All right. Looking at this one on the 4-hour, okay, you guys can see that we had this kind of sideways movement and drop to the downside. So we are at a downtrend set up on the 4-hour and daily, but not really anything great in here to be able to take a zone off of, as well as the indicator says nothing kind of meets the qualification for it, right? So this is what we're looking at like on an hourly basis, right? We got that level here, and it's just literally back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So not a lot going on right there, right? And again, we were hoping that this would continue to drive higher, unable to do so. And now, and again, I'm stretching out to make it look good. That's kind of more what we had today in this pair, okay? So not really ideal setup. I wouldn't say that it was trending today. It was basically just flatlined. When it's flat, we move on. We look for other pairs, okay? European currency, and again, guys, just as I was loading, Scanner, this one has us with all kinds of setups, all type of, everything, all kinds of stuff going on, right? So in this case, let's go back up to the daily and load this one back up again. All right, so daily, you can see our rock and a hard place, top and bottom, we're kind of boxed in, right? On our 4-hour, you can see that's what we got going on. So let's pull this off. It's from last week. You have a wick over wick signified, but right here, we're close to this kind of section that's a hand-drawn zone. Not too much there that I'm worried about. All right, so there we go. So the indicators draw in this bottom section. I actually drew the wick over wick just a little bit below to take a little bit more conservative entry. You can see, again, the indicator is basically holding firm. It bounced here, and it's just gotten flat, right? This is the 1 hour, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Basically 13 candles back till basically the start of the U.S. market today. This one really hasn't done much. It's kind of just literally sawtooth back and forth. We did have a nice drop down here, but besides that, it really hasn't done much. Even lower on the lower time frames, you can see what has it done? It basically flatlined, right? It flatlined. Nice movement during the European session, and then nothing. So we'll see where this one goes. It is sitting inside of a demand zone, but again, with don't forget that tomorrow we have the preliminary GDP numbers quarter over quarter and GDP month over month and manufacturing production numbers. So 3 kind of not bad news releases set up for the pound at 4:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the BOE is speaking at 10:35, as well as member Haskell speaks tomorrow at also, right? Carney speaks and then Haskell speaks 10:35 and then at 12. Okay, so bunch of stuff going on with this one, so I do expect to see some movement tomorrow. The way that it's setting up though right now, at least with this this euro pound pair, it's looking more like it wants to go long, which again would be pound weakness. Okay, so if that number, that GDP number, comes in worse than expected, it's actually looking like it wants to set up to go to the top side, not necessarily to the downside. Like I said, small zones, even on this 4 hour, you have something a little bit lower. And again, on the daily, you guys can see we got really top and bottom. These are something else. You guys can see we're only about 80 pips from the bottom and 80 pips from the top. So we're literally at like the 50 mark between 2 high quality zones. Okay. We can get a bump in either of those two. And then again, then we're definitely looking to, get a little crazy with this one. All right. So that's euro pound, euro Aussie. So let's bring this up. On the 4 hour, we're sitting inside of a demand zone on this one. And again, that would signify that we're getting into some European strength. Kind of same situation. We had some weakness today coming down into an area of demand on the hourly. See if we have anything for pullbacks. A little bit shy on this one. Now, this one is also obviously coronavirus related because we're not hearing anything, right? That's where this one is starting to chip back down again, right? The chip back down again. Aussie strength is returning to the market. If there's any news, again, this will bounce, but we can't plan ahead of time for that one. But again, this one's setting up. It's not in a horrible place. So this one for me, curve wise, is kind of sitting right in the middle. It's kind of like in a no man's land, at least on the daily here. So it's one of those ones. It's like, yeah, it's in a demand zone. A lot of people are like, why wouldn't you take that? And the reason why is because, again, it's sitting kind of smack in the middle. You can see last time price was here, it did pop. So, I mean, it is coming back down again. It did push deeper, and now it's making another attempt in. So, down here, I'm a lot more likely to be able to take a long in this one. Being in the middle, I don't like this one as much. And again, I was trying to see if there was anything up top that was populating to be able to take this one short. And not really. That one marked off on weekly or not. All right, so not really in love with the Euro Aussie, Euro CAD. You can see Euro CAD is just dropping, right? This thing is just going down, right? There's the daily. So you guys can see we've been in this channel, we've been consolidating. It is marking a wick over wick, not the very, very top. It likes the wick over wick here. And again, we are retracing this big spike that we had last week. So I expect this one to continue being bearish, coming down at least for another day or so until we get to the lower reaches. We're only about 35 pips from that range, but we have an area here, an area right below it, and an even area a little bit below it there. So again, multiple areas, but again, for right now, I would definitely say that I am bearish this pair if you're looking to take something. Again, this is marking off a wick over wick here. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to hold it. Yeah, I'd wait for this to get lower. And we need for this thing to come down about 35 pips. The daily ATR is about 70, so it should do it tomorrow. This will be a setup for tomorrow night that we're looking at, or sometime tomorrow during the day. Euro Swiss, let's see, come up to the daily. You guys can see Euro Swiss on the daily is also in a daily demand zone. It started to drive really, really deep in, and now we're in a green candle kind of pulling back up again. So not much to say about this one. Like many of the other European pairs right now, this is in an area of demand where we do have buyers coming in. On the 4-hour, you can't really see much demand below because it's been a long time since price has gone back here. So again, we don't carry that much history inside of MT4 to be able to find it. Dropping down to an hourly, you can see, that shouldn't do that. That's kind of what we have going on, right? This big, and then basing, and now it's pulling back up looking for order. So there's a couple orders in here. This is a long spike, which may give us a little bit of resistance. There's a little bit in here, not the perfect wick over wick, but for the most part, until you see something like really, really clean that it didn't spend a ton of time, it's really going to be up here, and that's going to be located up in the 107.16 area, and that's kind of what you're looking for. All right, nothing super exciting there. Euro pound we already did. Euro yen. All right, so let your yen load in here. On the daily, you can see we're kind of wedged in here. We are obviously low on the curve. This thing has been much, much higher. It has pulled back and is starting to get closer to the bottom side. I'd say we're still kind of sitting in the medium range. Okay, on the 4-hour, though, this is the picture that we have for the euro yen, right? Again, we are low. We're sitting inside of a demand zone. So this is the third or fourth pair now that we can say, hey, we are sitting in a demand zone, right? Now, again, some of them it's daily, some of it's 4-hour, some of them are hourly, some of them are 30-minute. But what we're seeing across the board is a lot of these pairs are sitting in demand zones. So, yes, this one has already come off the zone ability. It's green, and that's why, again, the scanner right here is giving us this euro-yen downtrend setup. But, I say but, should we be taking this thing short into areas of demand? The answer is no, right? We're looking for a pullback to the zone and then a spike, basically a reversal to the top side. So again, we're setting up for that one right now on the 4-hour. Looking at it here, there you go. You can see on the lower time frame on the hourly, we had here's the level, right? It continued to push higher. It pulled back. It went higher, pulled back and tested, and then launched itself. All right. So had any of you had the scanner on for this one, right? There was your 3-to-1, and there was your 5-to-1 risk to reward ratio, right? Again, this one is showing you too downtrend setup based off the 4-hour. Well, of course, but it's sitting inside of an area of demand. So again, there are times to go with trend, and there are times to not go in trend. When we have a low in the curve demand zone, we're not thinking go short. We're thinking go long. The only way we go short is if it can break through that zone and come back up and retest. Okay. In this case, as you guys can see, not only did it signify a bottom, right? It tested here, came up, gap down, came up, touched it, and then was off to the races. Okay, so again, smart time. This trade was about 3 hours ago. Again, small trade, but again, we're talking about it on an hourly and after hours. So not a bad little kind of setup on that one. So where we are now, again, I think you got to go back to the 4-hour. You got to look at this one and say, okay, what do we have going here? We just hit this demand zone. We are driving out. We're expecting some type of a pullback. There's a little wick over wick here, but really until we get up into this range in here, I'm not going to be super worried about any type of sells. Dropping the risk to reward tool on there, you can see that based off of where our risk level is, if we can come back and get a retest in and a hold, that 1 to 3 is in a nice little spot, right? It's sitting. Ideally, it would be here. But again, the 1 to 3 is just a little bit more than that. So not a horrible area. And even the 1 to 5, 1 to 5 is in a perfect location. It's right before the top of the spike. So, again, if we can clear the 1 to 3, the 1 to 5 is right there. I'm very happy with where the tool has placed it on this one. All right, so that's your euro yen setup. Euro New Zealand. Yeah, this one's ugly. All right, so you guys can see here was a zone that I had drawn before. Okay, let me take this off. You guys can see that it continued to push down, went to its 1 to 3 target, and came back up again. So on the 4-hour, okay, I'm still keeping that zone because it wasn't bad. The indicator's actually marked it off as well now, so I guess I could remove it. Let's see, I'll remove it here. That's the original zone, and you can see that that's where the indicator is putting it now. Just a slight adjustment, right? And again, we got this was actually the entry, and this was the exit. So I guess I'm going to remove it now. But this was the actual trade itself. Let's take these off. All right, that was your one. That was your first trade. This one is not bad. Like I said, we have a green test here. This one is being drawn. Again, I don't really love when the wicks is like that. Yeah. And again, there's not my favorite setup with the way that the red is formed, but again, continue to push down. So not a bad little zone. If you're looking to take this one, you'd be looking at something along those lines. The 1 to 3 I'm okay with. The 1 to 5, I think it's a bit far. I think that's a bit overzealous. You may not necessarily want to go that far. Whenever you have something sit on the other side of an opposing zone, it's a little bit risky, right? A little bit risky. But I do like this one. And again, looking at this chart, this is definitely more towards the upper side. So we are on the upper quadrant of the curve on the 4 hour. Total risk in this one, again, this pair moves. It's about 35. If you wanted to make this one a bit smaller, again, you could probably shrink this if you wanted to. Something in that range. And again, you could keep those same targets or lower those targets down since your risk is going lower. Your risk now is down to about 22, and not horrible. Like I said, it kind of got crazy here and then got front run. So that's where you would be for Euro New Zealand. Oh, did I just blow that one up? No. Go back to your hold. There we go. All right, Euro dollar. So Euro dollar was down a bit today, right? You can see that this is kind of a continuation. So let me get rid of these. Again, there was our little daily zone. Let's remove our daily zone. And then we have our lower ones that we need to remove as well. So on a daily, you can see where are we? Inside of a daily demand zone. And now we have a green candle. So again, another pair sitting inside of demand. Okay. Dropping it down to a 4 hour, you can see kind of the similar situation. You know, we have some greens, we got a little bit of reds. We'll see if this is able to hold or if it goes a little bit lower, but another pair that's sitting inside of a demand zone. Looking at this one on the hourly, it's been so long since we've gotten back here. You can see it's basically base at this point. Nothing great here. And really nothing great. Again, this is way, way low in the curve on the hourly. In the 30-minute, kind of a similar situation. We really can't see much because it's been a while, right? I mean, when was the last time we can say the price was down at 109.12? I mean, typically you break 110, people are like, whoa, 105? Parity? Right? We're gonna go to parity? I mean, yeah, it's still 900 pips away, but people are looking at this thing and like, oh my God, could we get to 1-to-1? That would be incredible, you know? But we typically have buyers stepping in at this point, so I'm not necessarily surprised that it's been forever that we've been here. Even on a weekly basis, you can see, I mean, when price is down here at, 103, right? This is 2016, right? That's how long it's been. And now we're starting to flaunt to kind of new highs. The last time down here, we we're at 108, 108.76. And look at this, we're driving. This is a much cleaner kind of drop to the downside for this one, right? Much cleaner. And again, we've already hit once, pushing again. It's going to bring us down to this gap area, which that gap area doesn't kick into 107.09. And all of a sudden, 107, you're like, whoo, 105 is sitting right there, right? So this one's got some change coming into it. But again, here's your daily. You're running into two areas of demand. 4 hours, kind of the same situation. So at this point, I mean, yeah, we got to be a little bit more bullish biased, but we'll see. Okay, if this is able to start cranking another kind of break of it, and interesting thing about it too is this one has one zone which it's in the upper quadrant of the zone. That's not as bad on this one, but you'll notice it's boom boom, right? Two zones on the daily, boom boom. Two zones on the 4 hour, right? When we go to the hourly, we lose them, but again, two zones on both of these, and a lot of times you're interested in taking the further one. So you got to be starting to think: should we be stepping in on a bullish basis on this point? Okay, and a breakout the top side, see if we can get into something long. I would be really excited though if we can get this down into the 107 ranges. That would be pretty exciting. Euro Singapore. Okay, again, you guys can see on the daily all the way up, grabbed some orders and turned and flipped on us. And again, we talked about that last week. Finding the highs as soon as we mentioned, as soon as we stopped here and expect for that thing to turn, and that's what it's doing, right? It's turning, it's flipping, it's heading back down. You can see on the 1 hour here. That's what we got going on. Okay. Now again, entry would have been a little bit difficult. Some people would have said, "Oh, I'll take this zone right here." It's like, "Oh, and just higher than that," right? But again, here is that failure to go higher. There's been a couple kind of pieces in here. This big spike right here, again, this is more of a kind of a parabolic retracement, and again, you finally would have hit it, although you may not have been able to stay in because of this one. But anytime you see a big spike, you're looking for a retrace here. Okay. And that was actually going to the weekend. So like I said, I think we will be able to get back to here. It looks like it is continuing to push. Another day of no news. Again, this is going to continue to drive all the way down to here. This one is a daily, daily ATR of 72. So you're looking at running it from here down to about here, right? About halfway back. Okay, if it continues to push to the downside at the same rate. That's a better one. All right. Ideally, I would have loved to get short here, but we ran out of steam too quickly. That's life. That's trading. All right, so let's go over the pound. All right, that'll be our first one. Let's pop our daily. All right, so daily. Let's pull some of these off. This is one of those ones that I was like, I don't really like that one. I did not include this one. This was not included on the page. And again, I didn't necessarily like the way that this one formed. I mean, literally, it was like instantaneously back up there. I was like, eh. And this is one of those ones that I would take it off for like 10, right? This one moved about 16, right? Its full profit target would have been 24, and it was at a 2-to-1. This one would have been either a stop out of break even, or like, once it kind of came up into here, I would have probably just said, okay, I'm calling it quits. It's forming lower. It's creating lower bottoms, or I'm sorry, higher bottoms. And when it spiked back down again, I'd taken it off for 5. So it would have been a little one. It didn't meet its full target, so it was not actually on the sheet this week. I just didn't want to take it, but had it been, I had it marked off. So looking on a daily basis, you can see that, again, are we basing? Still not really. It's still kind of just going sideways for us on this here. Not too much we can do with it. Looking at a 4-hour gives us kind of a better idea of what it's doing. Now, again, it's going in it's going in proper areas, right? Here you guys can see we had a demand zone. It did come and bounce off of it slowly. And again, we're waiting for something nice. Nothing too great in here, but at the same time, you guys can see, it came out of a zone here, same area. So I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to. It's bouncing where it's supposed to bounce. The next cleanest supply zone is still up top for me. This is still the cleanest zone for me right now. I still like that zone as far as the top goes. Again, we've had a little bit of a kind of a piercing here on the 4-hour, and we'll see where this one falls. Dropping this one down to an hourly, you can see that's a little bit farther up there. This one's there's a couple more things in here. This zone right here I would not use, and actually this one probably not as well. This one spent all this time here. This one, same thing. Look at this. I mean, it spent a lot of time there. I mean, I get it that it's Friday. This one, not horrible. Again, this is a nice kind of drive away from there. So if you wanted to take something on a little bit smaller of a time frame, or we do get a spike of 120 pips, we can remove the higher level target and we can take this one down into this range. This one actually was something that may happen tomorrow, again, with the preliminary GDP at 4:30 tomorrow morning. If this one pops, again, that'll be a smaller time frame supply zone. Again, expect a pop up and then a kind of a roll back down as people kind of digest the information. So that's possible for tomorrow morning if you wanted to set some type of an alert for it. What I'd recommend doing on this one is use the alert function inside of here. Again, have it set you have it send you an email to your phone. Would be the best bet. You don't use the indicator that's based with. Don't use the alert for this indicator. Just use an actual one of the alerts down here when you go to what is it? View terminal, and then you go down to the alert section. Go to alerts, and then right click, create, and then create an alert here for the pound yen. Okay, that would be the best way to do it. All right. Let's close that down. All right, so that's pound yen. Let's go into pound CAD. All right, pound CAD. Let's get it some data so we can read. Read. Now you can see on this one, the 4-hour, it did take a nice little bounce up and popped, and again went into a level of basing. Again, nothing you probably wanted to trade off of this one, but again, it did what it was supposed to do. It came down, snagged this demand zone, popped up, went into an area of basing. The indicator didn't pull it, but you guys should know whenever you see kind of this sawtooth effect, right? These lower wicks going down, you know that there's some sellers sitting in there. So I don't even think, had you taken that, I'm not sure, did you make it? Yeah, you made it to a 3-to-1. So I mean, had you taken it, you would have been good. Your risk on that one was about 35. So I mean, you did get some, you did get a bunch of movement off of it. So I mean, it did what it was supposed to do. I don't know that necessarily. I did not trade this one. I may or may not have taken that one depending on if I was able to kind of catch that one time wise. Dropping down to an hourly. You can see we really weren't close to anything. That was purely based off of a 4 hour. When it pulled up, now you can see why it kind of turned back again. This level here, as things are coming up and we're testing and we're pushing in, so it makes sense why it did what it did, right? On the 30-minute, on the smaller time frame, this is typically more within people's risk tolerance on this pay on this with this pair. You're talking about zones here of about 18. Again, this pair can move when it really wants. You can see we're kind of sitting at this middle level of basing, up, sideways, and up, and that's what we're resting on right now. It kind of came down and now has slowed. Any type of spike on this one, again, you will get a spike tomorrow with the pound if it is a miss. If it pops up or down, this is also another chance for you to take a long or a short. Okay. That's actually not bad. If this thing manages to go sideways and then pops, the 1 to 3 is not bad, and the 5 to 1 is actually not a horrible target either. So that wouldn't be too bad for the spike. Pound dollar. All right, so you can see on this one, this was continuing to drive down on the daily. Arguably, there's a zone on top of a zone here. So again, be cautious with this one, any type of short scenario. Again, everything we've been talking about longs. Again, 4 hour, it's coming down to an area of demand. I wouldn't quite say it's a great trend, though, on this one. Let's see. We got an hourly. Hourly, you can see we're pinched. Get a rally up from the open, pull back halfway, and has stopped. Rock in a hard place on the 1 hour. We are sitting 25 pips in either direction. PMI, or I'm sorry, the GDP number will kind of burst through that on the 1 hour. So you're definitely going to have to take this one up to the 4 hour as a minimum. Start looking for good levels. And again, on the 4 hour, I don't really see anything great on the top side. Not really loving anything for a spike up and a retrace. We're not going all the way up top. I mean, that would be 280 pips. You're not getting a 280 pip GDP change. For something to move it that much, it would have to be such a huge miss that everybody would doubt its validity. I don't think you're getting that. If anything, you'll get a spike to the downside and then kind of a pop back up. So pound dollar is actually not giving us too much right now. Pound Aussie. Let's see. Pound Aussie's been all over the place. Again, you guys can see this one came into the gap range, went up to about top one here. Anyway, you guys can see this one was about two-thirds of the way there before it kind of turned and started to push back down and then drove back up again. So again, that would have been an early exit. You don't like it when it's kind of going sideways. This is not a horrible zone down here, although let's see, it is only about 16 pips from the bottom range. Not a bad little target, but again, we haven't really gotten a great little entry up here. Kind of still stuck. Let's see. 68. So we're within one. The ATR on this one is 180 pips. So looking at this one on an hourly, actually it was a 4 hour, wasn't it? Trying to see what type of range we had on this one going. At this point, I would probably wait till it comes back down again. I think we could get kind of a pullback. And again, we've seen this on a few pairs. We are getting close to demand on a few of them. Let's see if this can grind back down again and then take a potential long on this. Be the best bet for Aussie pairs. Pound Singapore. Let's see. We pulled daily. This is the same thing. We've kind of topped it and we're heading back in the in a southerly direction. You guys can see this one too. This grabbed right here. The indicator did not draw this one, but you guys can see right there. How's that for a target? Came up and retested, continued to push down. There was Friday, pulled up, and then completed the target if you had held it over the weekend. Again, pop up. So again, this is starting to consolidate, kind of a no news situation there. Pound Swiss. Let's see what we got pound Swiss wise. Yeah, pound Swiss, we're kind of in the same situation. So on a daily, you can see we are obviously kind of middle of the way right now, middle of the road for curve. We're kind of sitting in kind of a back and forth kind of quick area. On the 4 hour, you can see same thing, kind of squished in. You can see here. Um, much just sideways movement, 30-minute, not really much. Even the hourly, it's not great. I don't think I'd take a short off this area. The reason I don't like this area is I look to the left. Look at all this. I mean, it's just literally cut back and forth. This not a bad zone. If anything, I would say, hey, listen, if we can get back up to that, that's not a bad zone. Downside, I would have actually drawn it here. And if you look back to the left, you guys can see from the very bottom, it's messing with this. And there's not really necessarily a clean zone bottom-wise. I think bottom-wise, I'd still be waiting for this bit down here. I'd be looking for those down there. Okay. Gotta see that here. Yeah. So here'd be my bottom side targets. My bottom side entries, it would start at 125.53, and my top side entries would be at 126.97. Top and bottom. That one. Actually, here I'll do this for you guys so you can change this one to red. If anybody, I know some people screenshot, so that way you can see kind of the short side and then the long side, top and bottom. And again, it obviously bigger because it's based off of different time frames. So that's pound Swiss, pound New Zealand. Now again, this pair obviously can move. Right? This pair has 172 pip ATR. Where it is, again, it's driving up. I think if we get up top, again, this is one of those, level on top of a level. Not a bad zone up here. This top zone starting on the daily is at 205.65. We are currently at 202.08. So a little bit of a runner, but again, 170 pip ATR. This thing could definitely pop up there. If we do pop, again, you can play this on the lower time frames. On the 4 hour, you can see again, it gives you kind of a little bit better kind of a bracketing. This bottom zone, I don't necessarily love that one. And the reason why is if you look to the left, you can see it's kind of the end of all this. And again, test lower, test and held. But again, how many times can we hit the same area of buyers before it collapses? So if we do push the downside, I would probably go back down and use this piece down here. There and there are actually not little bad areas for any type of a spike. And again, that's on the 4 hour. You're talking about 20 pips top side risk, and you're talking about 30 pips bottom side risk if you get a spike in either direction for that one. Okay. All right, that is pound New Zealand. Let's go down and hit the New Zealand pairs. I blew up a window by mistake. And again, this is how easy this is, guys. Template, and there you go. It's back on. That's how easy this is. Okay. Again, if you guys are unfamiliar with how to kind of navigate through MT4 and you're like, wait a second, how did you get that up that quick? Like I deleted it, right? Like my Aussie, my Aussie New Zealand disappeared. This is actually shouldn't be Aussie New Zealand. This should be actually Aussie dollar. So we'll go here, right? Yeah, it should be New Zealand dollar. So again, I'll just bring this across and boom, we're done. That profile is rebuilt. But it's as simple as that, guys. Again, save things as templates, use profiles. That's the easiest way to be able to navigate through. I actually did a mentoring session with Carl this week, and we actually spent a fair amount of time going through, and it was kind of a how to make my life easier in MT4 class. We went over the indicator and how best to use it and set it, but a lot of it was, okay, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to, okay, let's do this. And it was a kind of an MT4 mentoring class. I'm sure there are people out there that know more than me. So looking at New Zealand CAD, this one's finally broken through. So this one is kind of setting up for a little bit of a short area, right? Here again, I'm waiting for a little bit more of a breakdown. Let me see. Yeah, let's. All right, so there was our zone. Haven't quite got the pullback that we're looking for on the 4 hour. Let's see what we got here. And I'll tell you right now, New Zealand CAD is not something I trade too often. The candle it's just kind of a little funky pair. All right. Yeah. Wasn't my favorite because of how much time it spent. I'll just delete it. Especially easier. Again, let's wait for this one for us to get lower. That one's not bad. So unfortunately, to the downside, not a great entry on that one. Just skip it because it's an off pair. Remember, guys, you're always going to see zones violated when it doesn't have data in there. And that's why you guys see me clicking between the charts, because it has to reload data for the charts. This one's in a demand zone, bouncing, obviously, New Zealand Swiss. 4 hour here, same thing. We just came off of a zone on the 1 hour. It's been too long since we've been here. And nothing here. I wouldn't pick any zones for long in this one, so nothing clean. Like I said, I want something clean. I got nothing on that one. New Zealand yen. You guys can see this one is literally in a zone now, coming out of the zone. We'll see if it can get through this bit back, but if it can, I think we can run all the way back up again. What was the risk level in this one? That's only about 18 pips. That wasn't a horrible entry. Nothing clean on this one though. That would have been a 4 hour entry if you got in anything at all. But again, this little bit right here is pretty interesting. But we'll see. If anything, if you're going to play a red green red confirmation out of this one, make sure that you exiting prior to this zone, because you don't want to mess with this the way that this one formed up top, the way that it kind of rolled over and then fell, and then again had the sawtooth effect here. Not something you want to try to push through. All right, so remember, this is the chart I just rebuilt, so I'm trying to give it some data. This one's fallen pretty well. With the RBNZ news tomorrow night, this could be a position that we're looking to take. So let's see. It's about 94 pips to the downside. The daily is only 41, so it's a bit far for this one to drop that much in one day. 4 hour gives us a better. Let's see. Sitting right up there. Yeah, it's got a bit of ways to run. It's got about 100 pips to run. That's over 2 times its daily ATR. Even with tomorrow's news, unless they actually cut the rate, I don't see this one being able to have enough juice to get down to there. So let's check this one out on the 1 hour and see what we got here. As you guys can see, this one is in a downtrend setup, pulling back. But I mean, are you looking? Is there anything clear in here? And the answer is not really. I'd like it to come up a bit higher, but nothing on the 1 hour on this one. Let's see, 30 minutes. Do we have to go this low? Not worried about this zone at all. Again, same thing, downtrend setup, but even here, there's nothing super clean until up top, which is actually a test of this area. So no entries for New Zealand dollar. And again, Monday, can't really do much about it. Let's look at the dollar. Dollar yen first. All right, there we go. All right, so definitely getting higher up in the curve. Again, looking at this on a daily, we are definitely getting up in a daily supply. Looking at this on a 4 hour, you can see it kind of spike back and forth. There's a little bit in here, not too much. On the 1 hour, I mean, really pushed down and then just turned around and came back up again overnight. Like I said, I'd wait for this one to get a bit higher before we can do any trades. Anything, I don't know that I'd use this little red line, this little red zone here from 109.98 to 110.01. I don't know that I'd use that one. I think I'd probably use this one. Again, the one right above it, the one that starts at 110.04 to 110.11, I think is a much better zone, right? I think that works for me. And again, this is one of the gap pairs that work. You guys can see this one was literally textbook, came up, snagged the gap, went down through its 1 to 1 or 1 to 3. And remember, for the weekly report, I only use 1-3s. I don't use anything further in that. I'm not trying to pad numbers or anything. But this one actually made it almost all the way to the 1 to 5. You would have banked at least the 1 to 4 on this one. But we only did the 1 to 3. So again, not going too crazy. So another successful one there. And after that, what did it do? It came back up. It snagged this from the 30-minute and then just kind of based sideways. So I wouldn't say there's been a ton of movement since that time. There was a little gap trade, and that was basically it. This top zone is actually holding pretty well. We hit once, and now we're hitting a second time, and it is red. It is going red at this point. it may be worth something for an overnight trend on this one. Again, this is a 30-minute chart. On the hour, you're not quite up there yet. You can't quite see it, so it's more of a smaller time frame. So I would expect that it probably goes back into this probably 15 pip range before it starts to turn and try to push back up again. This one will flatline most likely overnight with no news. With Powell speaking tomorrow, though, it has the potential to move depending if he says something that's unexpected tomorrow. All right, but we're not in type of a trend state. Dollar Swiss. Okay, I got all kinds of stuff on this one because Carl and I were using this one. As you can see on the daily, let's delete a lot of that. And this was all like, oh, well, if it goes here, then we could see this. All right, so on a daily basis, you guys can see we've driven all the way back up again. This was the zone that we drew talking about the basic level, this red, the green, and the really explosive movement out. We wanted to get a little bit higher, and even on the daily, you know, it's about 28 pips. It's just a little bit much for me, and again, that's why we had multiple drawings. But it came all the way back up. A lot of green in this one, has not turned around. Again, this is the Iran situation completely dissipating, not hearing anything about it, pulling back up. On the 4-hour, you can kind of see the same thing. It got pretty choppy today, got a little bit more ugly. And again, best area? No, not really. Not really the best area. We'd be pulling it up into most likely this range to get a bit more conservative. And again, was a test candle here, launching it to the downside. We are about 25 pips away. So, you know, it has an ATR 45. So we could definitely hit it tomorrow with some type of a testimony. And again, this is a hand-drawn zone. You know, it's been a lot of time. It's not ideal. You know, we're talking about seven different candles wide, and a lot of them are just wicks up and down. I like the reaction out of it. I don't like the formation of it, if that makes sense. Dropping it down to an hourly, you guys can see where the zone is up top, right? There you go. And again, would I refine it here? Probably. I'd probably bring this down into this range here. And that's, I mean, I could get really I can get really like conservative, but I think this area here, this is about 10 pips. I'll put it right there. That's about 10 pips. You can see that price came up and touched this one and then launched itself to the downside. I think that's going to be the ideal short on the top side. And again, because this is not one of those zones, I got to draw it. You'd be looking at something along those lines. Okay. Those that don't have the indicator, looking at approximately 98.06 to 98.18 is what your risk level is on that one. And then profit target 1, the 1 to 3 is at 97.70 with a second profit target, which is actually not in a bad position. It's before the demand zone here is the 1 to 5 target, which is 97.46. Okay. You're waiting for the top one? Yeah, I don't mind this one. Like I said, it's a bit more aggressive. But again, we've had a retest into it. That's the only reason why I'm choosing this one and not the more conservative. You know, typically I go with the more conservative. This one I'm going a little bit more with the aggressive one because we had this test that literally was a launching point to the downside from this basing. This brought us down, you know, 160 pips from that zone. The only reason why I'm going with that one instead. Okay, but that's trading. Everybody's gonna have a different opinion on it. Dollar CAD. So pull up here. All right, so dollar CAD, you guys can see there was a zone on top of a zone, and like I said, I said before I did not like that one. Why? Because it was just so much time. It was so big. It was like all over the place, right? Those are old trades. Let me. I'm not sure what that discussion was from. I was looking for the. That's what I was looking for. This one right here. All right, so those. All right, so looking at the daily, where are we? Sitting inside of a demand or sitting inside of a supply zone, right? Again, this is driven all the way back, came back up, and you can see we already have a red candle coming out of it, so it has respected that area. Obviously on the daily, this is quite a large one. I mean, it's only about 25 pips, which on the daily is not bad. On the 4-hour, you can see kind of the same thing. We've grazed that bottom zone, and now we have had basically 16 hours of straight down since that time. This one has given us the uptrend setup, but it's an uptrend setup into a supply zone, which is a big no-no. So this one is more set up for a short right now. Looking at on the hourly, kind of the same situation. I mean, this is more or less for profit targets. You can see what we've had. Nice pop up and it's continued to drive down. I do imagine we will see a little bit of basing when we come down to this level down here at 132.92, as well as another one. This clearing wick came all the way down, it tagged the top of this thing, and went all the way back up again. So we know there's some buyers sitting down here as well. So don't hold this one too long. But 132.77 would be kind of a secondary target. If you were looking for some type of an entry in this one, this one technically, it would have been a very, very aggressive one if you're looking to do it. But you did have this kind of failure to go higher. If you had set this one up, whoops, wrong one. If you had set this one up to go here, okay, you would have got an entry, but it didn't really leave great. And again, it's come down and kind of pushed. Typically you can get a little bit better entry on that one. Let me see on the 30 if there was a, not really, not horrible. I mean, you could have set this one up. Like, man, why is it not clicking right? You could have set yourself up on this one. This would have been a better entry. It is a light seven. That's probably more what you would have actually set it up off of, and then done something along those lines. Okay, so there's your 3-to-1. We actually just take off the 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio. Not quite there yet, so pretty close to the downside. And again, that would have just been a failure to go higher based off that spike. Again, we formed the supply zone off the spike down. It did move 1-to-1 over what that risk would have been, so it was a valid zone. Came back up and retested, and then again, this got boring. Watching the paint dry, and then finally like, woo! And so you're close. So close on that one. And again, that's why it's important to have these highs and lows kind of marked off for things, because again, not bad. Now, this 1 to 5, I'd be a little bit cautious of, but if it clears there, I don't see why it wouldn't go down. You may want to actually extend your profit target. If you're going to wait for this to go through, just pick the target down here. Front run it into this direction at the low of this last kind of spike down. Okay, for dollar CAD. Dollar Singapore. So, look at that. I don't know if you guys saw this one or not, but like I remember talking about this last week, and we drew this one where I was like, no, I would use the lower zone. I think the lower zone is probably a bit better. And look at that, it literally turned off of it. So yeah, it's right there, right there. I mean, again, and this is based off the 4-hour. Check that out. It literally grazed the top of that thing and is now turned. It is down about 51 pips since that turn. Gotta love those pips, man. Man, turning point drop. Yeah, I like that one. And again, if you don't have this on your platform, this is because this is using Purple. And again, Purple is one of the challenge brokers for FTMO. All right, so again, expected we'll see a little bit of basing here, but loving that one on the larger time frame. Definitely still bearish overall in this one. It's going to have to chunk through some of these demand zones at this point. But with, again, less and less talk of coronavirus, I see this one coming and basically turning all the way back down, at least into here. We may not go all the way back down again, but I mean, again, this is when the coronavirus happened. All this, okay, all this. Straight up, no pullbacks, nothing. And again, we're getting a pullback right now. So lack of coronavirus news. Yeah, look at this one too. This one you didn't get back in? Yeah, I remember you saying it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be short. I'm gonna take this one. You didn't get back in? Yeah. Not a bad little. I mean, it's not a pair that everybody's gonna trade. So, but yeah, it's there. It's there. All right, so that's the U.S. pair. So let's go over into the oil/other page, right? So oil, guys, I don't know if you guys took advantage of oil. We talked before about oil is very, very low on the curve at this point, but expect, kind of pullbacks on the 4-hour. This is what we're looking for. There was a couple areas where like, hey, listen, if price gets up to here, be looking to short again. We actually just kind of got pretty close to it. On the 1-hour, you guys can see this is what we had. There was the gap candle. Here was the open, right? It dropped all the way down, came all the way back up, kind of messed around, and then boom, continued to crash down. And what did it do? It hit the demand zone and then turned and has gone straight up since the demand zone. This thing moved from 49.67 all the way back up to 50.33. Almost, actually, it went up to 50.42. So almost at a full dollar up from that demand zone at the bottom. Okay. And again, one push here, one push down. I don't know if anybody got in. I think Sean got in this. Didn't have time today for oil. Yeah. I mean, this was a nice one, right? Guys, this was a nice one, right? This one hit and went right back up again. So again, supply and demand works and all, right? And again, we're bouncing off this top side, the gap section, and we're looking for it to turn and flip. So if I had to make a call right now, I'd probably say I'm probably a bit more bearish tomorrow for oil. And you guys can see on this lower time frame, it hit and is pushed, and we'll see what this green does. But to me, it's looking like we're going to have a retrace overnight back to the downside. So that would be my call right now for oil if I had to draw one. Like I said, I know this market is a little bit different. Let me see. Let's do tile windows. Let's see. We have gold in here. All right. So gold on the daily. Let's load this one up. Okay. Let's bring this back down. All right. Whoops. What's it doing? All right. So here's that one level from last week that we ended up going through. Now, again, we got super close. We hit here. I mean, this candle was like literally up and down. So, I mean, it was kind of a bit of all over the place is the best word for it. Now, dropping down to, again, the lower time frames, because that's really, again, that's really where you have to play this one because it's based off of more kind of where are we right now type situation, and it's very, very reactionary to news. So on a 4-hour level, you can see that we're kind of sitting in the middle. I wouldn't say that it's a great top or bottom. This is not bad. This one's a little bit big for me. I don't really like it as much. Dropping it down to an hourly, it's kind of like, I mean, is this a strong move? Kind of. Is this an original zone? No. So that's not even great. This is a bit big for me. I don't know. I'm not really in love with any of these oil zones that I see right now. I'm sorry, gold zones. Same thing. The top side, is that a great zone? Not really. Down, not really, right? So we're having to drop to like really much lower time frames at this point. This one hasn't loaded. I'm just not really in love with any of these gold trades. So, I mean, again, we'll move on. Looking at NQ. Straight up. James is all over this one. I mean, James is like, this one's just going crazy, right? And again, all we can pull in this one is demand because again, when the price is this high, what do we have, right? There's nothing to pull from the top side. There's your monthly, right? So again, if you were riding a rocket ship and the second booster goes in, we had a pullback and yeah, it was off to the races, right? Off to the races. So again, nothing on the top side for this one. Again, even on the hourly, they're saying we're just pushing up and it's pulling back right now. So it says uptrend setup, but is it going to grab and continue to go higher? Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I would say so. I think the hardest thing for this one right now, especially in the overnights, is finding somewhere for it to pull back and grab orders from. You guys can see it did pull down today on the 1 hour. That's today. Super. It pulled back to a level basing, but right now the only basing we have is down here at the 94.71. So, woo, that one's off to the races to the top side. Dow, kind of the same thing. Dow actually has some demand above. We go there. 4-hour across, you guys can see we are kind of approaching a top here. The Dow is a little bit different up here at, where's this one kick in at? Short saying, hey, listen, this had a huge spike today. I think tomorrow there could be some bad news coming in. Powell's testifying. He could say something like all kinds of stuff going on. If that's your opinion tomorrow morning, again, your risk level now, wouldn't it be 29.43.2, 542? And again, profit target is not bad, the 29.105 area. Again, that would be on a 4-hour, dropping it down to a lower time frame. Again, you can shrink your risk. Again, not a bad little zone there. I mean, I'd probably adjust this slightly into probably you could use that one, but that one's pretty aggressive. I mean, that would put your entry at 29,500 to 29,547 is kind of what your risk level is, with a profit target at 29,358 to 29,264. That would be a bounce off there in the Dow. And then looking at the S&P, let's bring this back up again. S&P again, this one is going higher, right? I guess it's not fully up. That's kind of what you had right here. All right, it broke. Yeah. Yeah. So again, based off of where we are right now, there's really nothing we can pull because it's at highs. It's all about looking for a pullback. Again, Dow is a laggard in that one. Again, kind of the same place for the pullback. All right, so nothing crazy. All right. So like I said, I mean, for me, oil has been kind of the catch those intraday moves. Gold, I haven't really found anything in there that I've really loved to trade at this point. And again, the indices have been all smaller time frame, and when they're at all-time highs, they're at all-time highs. I'm not looking to take those things short until I have tops put in and I know I have sellers. I don't have any sellers yet, so ride that one higher. So with that being said, guys, I will give you guys about another minute. I'll close this one down at 138 and a half. We went long tonight, a lot more stuff to talk about. So if you guys are not in yet, make sure you do your exclamation point ticket to get your ticket for the evening for 25 pip chips. Don't forget, with your pip chips, you can go over here and you can purchase one of the ATR indicators that I use inside of your stream store. The close and time indicator, as well as I will send you the ATR and pip. So it's actually two different indicators that I send out for the 100 pip tips, as well as you guys can do mentoring sessions with me for 30 minutes to redeem your pip chips when you have them. So with that being said, we got about 15 seconds. We'll see. Ernest looks like he's in the last spot. Who else are we missing here? I don't see Ryan. Who we got? Q is anti-ticket buying, obviously. There he is. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to close it down now. And he's like, bam. The best way to do it, and I said I was going to do it 35. The best way is when someone tries to put it in after the fact. I still find lots of joy in that. Just saying. Just saying. So winner of the night is Ernest. Look at that. Didn't matter. He had his hacks in already, Q. You stood no chance. You stood no chance. Ernest is like, I timed it perfectly tonight, guys. I got this. I got this. Mark that one as here. But the funniest part is, look, James, I could do this and mess with you. If I hit draw another winner, who do you think it would be now? Now that now that Ernest and Ernest hacks are out, who would win it now? Who would win it now? Here you go. Watch this. I'm gonna hit the button. Let's see who would win it. If we are drawing two winners, because Ernest put his hacks in, the second winner would be Josh. So Josh's daughter, do not tell Josh that he would have been the second winner if we had one tonight. Because he'd be like, no, I was going to win tomorrow. It's not like that, guys. It's not like that. It's completely random. Where is Ernest? Let's see. I'm just glad it wasn't like Will. Because if it was Will, we would have never heard the end of it. Yeah. Yeah, thank God that wasn't Will, because Will would have been like, man, I haven't won 2020. Honestly, one of the pins to Brian mentioned, to be honest. Yep, that's all right. All right, guys, with that being said, again, it is 10:35, super late tonight. I will catch you guys tomorrow. I will be around till about 10:30, and then I have to step out for a bit, and then we'll be back for the afternoon. So if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to shoot me a message in the morning, ask questions, bounce me charts. And with that being said, you guys have a good night. Take care.